Listen to this episode if you want to hear an open and honest conversation about how to redefine what it means to be successful, about how to redefine this hustle culture mentality. I know this is something that I talk about all the time, and today I had the pleasure of talking with Kari Esmail all about this topic as well. Kari is an author, a professional coach, a community builder, and she truly is helping women release this hustle mindset and excel through integrating more fun into their life. Just a couple of days ago, Kari launched her new book, Fun Because, which is talking about how to integrate fun into your life to actually strategically grow your business. If you are not new here and you listen to a lot of my podcasts, you already know that this was right up my alley. We had such a wonderful conversation welcoming Kari to today's podcast. Hi, Kari. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be on your pod.
I first want you to introduce who you are, because I'm sure we could talk all day long.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So, I'm Kari Esmail. I am a certified professional coach, community builder, and new author.
Mhm.
And my message helps women release the hustle mindset and integrate more fun into their life to excel and thrive personally and professionally.
Yes. And I think it's so interesting. We have like such a similar mission in kind of just like, I use the word freedom, you use the word fun. And I've really seen this happen a lot in the space, even in the last like 3 to 6 months, where a lot of people are talking about this more kind of like middle ground. I think everybody worked their buns off, they all burnt out. And then they're like, I'm gonna go the complete opposite side of the pendulum and I'm gonna like be nice and flow and just see how it goes. And then they saw their sales kind of decline and be like, all right, that doesn't work either. Now, how do I find this middle ground? For you, with the fun element of it and in a calendar, like our schedules are so busy, how do you really recommend like fitting in fun into their calendar?
Yes. Oh my gosh, way to kick it off. That's
Yeah.
such a good question to
Let's
start
dive
with
into it.
because that is the main sticking point for people. Is they're like, I don't have the time. I'm going straight from working all day long to taking care of my family,
Yeah.
to taking care of the house, especially women, like we're wearing so many hats, juggling so many things. And the answer to that is really finding ways to what I call infuse the playfulness and fun
Yeah.
as opposed to like carving out time for it. And that's part of it. But when
Mhm.
you are like starting out, that kind of comes later where you feel like you have the capacity for that. And to get to that point where you have that capacity,
Yes.
just simply taking a more playful and fun approach to things that you do every day will fill your cup to the point where you start to have that space in yourself and in your life to do more of the activities that you love.
For sure. And I think it's really important, like you said, like in the beginning stages of your business, we're not saying you don't have to hustle. I'm not saying you don't have to work. I'm not saying that like it's going to be easy, just like let's go paint something and then all of a sudden your business is going to grow. We're saying is like implementing it into your calendar so your body can kind of feel that more refueled throughout the process.
Yes, that's such a good way to put it. And I love how you're saying, because I know we both know very well
Yeah.
that running a business, it is hard work. And
Hmm.
I kind of differentiate hard work and hustle as like the
Yes.
mindset that you're
I
operating in.
like that.
But
Hmm.
it's a grind. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna have to show up and it's gonna be really hard. And that's why it's so important to enjoy the journey so that you don't burn out and give up before you've accessed that new reality that you're striving for.
For sure. And like that's really the case is like the whole mission is like you're trying to have this business forever. Like you aren't just trying to have this business for 3 years, maybe sell it off and then be like, all right, bye, like let me go do something else with my life. Most people are like, I want to grow this business and you're at least going to run it 5, 10, 15 years. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll be able to ever sell it, whatever that really looks like. But if you are like waiting for that end goal, like, okay, once I get to this point, then I'll be able to. At that point, you have grown your business to demand hustle and grit in order to withstand that if you haven't fulfilled that in the beginning, if you haven't like created a business with more sustainability at the core, it's going to be really hard to actually grow, and like you're never going to actually reach this point where you feel like you're ready to kind of take that step back.
Snaps for that, for real. That's like it's the way I like to see it is if you're, waking up living a lifestyle that you don't love, thinking that that's going to lead you into a lifestyle that you love and that feels better on your nervous system, it's you're going to end up like disappointed and frustrated.
Yeah.
Like if we what we like how we behave and act now is what we're creating for the future. So
Yes, that's
finding that sustainability first. And I'm so curious to know like what your experience is with that on your journey.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've run a business. I ran my family's business for a long time, and there was no sustainability. Like it was, I remember, like I don't remember weeks of my life just because it was like I remember like we had people that would move in that would work for us for like 6 weeks. It was a seasonal business, and I like one of my fiance's best friends worked for us for like 6 weeks, and he wasn't my fiance at that point, but and I like barely remember meeting him, even though he worked for us for so many months. But it was just because I was in this go, go, go. Like it was just like in the mode of needing to get everything done. And I had plenty of weeks that had like 80 scheduled hours, which meant I was working probably 100 like hours in that week because I had so many things to do off the clock. And so I just decided, like, I'm not building a business like this again. And so when I started to do social media for people, my goal for myself was I'm going to build a business without that hustle. And then I started to realize with everybody I was working with, they were all trying to build these businesses with this hustle as well. And so I figured it out for myself and then I tried to teach other people as well. And it's like, it's a daily practice. Like, it's not something that you ever master. So, like, last week, we were talking about it before, like, my Instagram or my like, Meta account center got hacked. And it was an incredibly chaotic week just because I was trying to figure it out. I was on like 18 hours of meta support, which is just like, let me elevate you to the next level. Let me elevate you to the next level, just like over and over again. And last week was a week that I didn't have good balance because it was all that was like capturing my brain. However, I still found ways that, all right, like, Maddie, I'm gonna go take an hour and go do like a workout class. Maddie, like, I went for a walk every single day. There was still things that I had to challenge myself that nothing is going to happen right now for me sitting at my laptop worrying about this, that I had to go do something that was going to make me feel better. So I think really the sustainability side of things, at least in my experience and what I always tell people, is like it's not a destination. Some weeks are going to look very different than other weeks. It's just, it's like that 80-20 rule that applies to everything. 80% of your time you want to be able to be structured and like, in that flow, that when things aren't working, like, yeah, that 20% of the time you're gonna, like, when anomaly happens, you're gonna have to work a little harder that week. We just want to have where we do enjoy our life a little bit better in that journey.
Yes. Yes, I love that. That's such a good example of how it ebbs and flows and how it's just a forever journey
Yeah.
that we're always on. And there is no destination with, the end goal for the business
Yeah.
or like your perfect work-life balance. Like
No.
it's going to shift and move around, and your ability to adapt with that and enjoy where you're at, regardless of where that is going to be the greatest tool in your toolbox
Yes.
along this journey.
I agree. And I think the word balance is where people get frustrated is like, all right, like, 50% of my awake time is going to be work and then 50% is going to be play. But like, it's not an actual like 50-50 balance. It's always going to be moving. Every day is going to look a little different. And I heard somebody say at one point that was like, it's more of a harmony than a balance. We just have to find it with whatever works for us. How can we balance those personal and the professional to have us enjoying that professional like so much more? And otherwise, you're just going to constantly be living for the weekend or living for when you finally hit $10,000 a month or finally when things start to slow down. I think it's so funny when people are like, oh, like, oh, well, when things start to slow down, I'll do that. I'm like, honey, things aren't starting to slow down unless you like tangibly slow them down.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
isn't that life,
it
right?
is. And it's what we want to do forever.
Yeah. It's so funny. You're like quoting and pulling nuggets from the book, which obviously you have not read,
Yeah,
which is so funny. Like
I
as you were
can't
talking,
wait to read it.
oh my gosh. So, I mean, so many things that we've talked about are like literally pulled straight from it. So you're
Yeah.
gonna love it. And the harmony piece is huge because at the end of the day, we are one being with one life. And we do this thing as humans where we compartmentalize like work life and, health and professional life. And we're one being. And they
Mm,
actually do get to intertwine and play
yes.
together should we let them. And I
Mhm.
know that that can seem kind of risky for people to kind of let them bleed, because you want to, hit 5 o'clock and the boundary is set and you're no longer in work
Yes.
mode. But if you can let yourself be a little bit more fluid, the productivity will skyrocket.
Mm.
And it, it's I guess a balancing act or like a dance that you have to learn for yourself because everybody's journey with that looks different, but it
Yeah.
does end up feeling a lot lighter.
Yes. And I honestly think a lot of like when people ask me, how do you start with work-life balance? Like, how do you start kind of crawling out of this burnout? Is it really is a mindset shift, as you just said, is it's not, okay, how can I separate business and work? It's how can I fulfill myself personally so I am more productive professionally? Like you are by having fun in your business, by or in your real life, by, finding the things that really fill you up, refuel you, you're able to actually be the better business owner.
Yeah. And we can only be the better business owner and fulfill our true potential when we are coming from a place of overflow. There's
Yes.
nothing more productive that you can do than keep your cup full and have fun and play. Like, play is not a luxury, it's not a bonus, it's not a bottom of the list thing. If you put it at
Yeah.
the top or put the big rocks in first, as I say,
Hmm.
all those little rocks that exist on your to-do list, they will get done. And
Yeah.
that is a trust fall that you've got to practice. Like you said
Yeah.
earlier, it's a daily practice, but once you realize that if you are enjoying your life and doing the things that really make you happy, those
Yeah.
other things will get done. It's like, oh, this is like the ultimate win-win of all time.
Yes, you get to actually like enjoy life a little bit more. And when you come back to business, you're like, oh, like I always say, like you will feel 10 times better on the other side of rest. If you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling uninspired, my first question is always like, when was the last time you took a weekend off? Like, when was the last time you didn't think about your business for like 72 hours? And a lot of times you almost have to force yourself once you do take that step away. Like, all of these ideas and kind of like downloads come, you have to be like, all right, I'm going to write those down, but I'm going to deal with it on Monday and like not dive too deep into it because we never let our brains just disconnect. It's just what our brains are always running on constantly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and we love it, but it's not sustainable.
Mm-mm.
And it reminds me of like play being a form. I look at it as a form of meditation because
Mhm.
some people can sit cross-legged and close their eyes and turn off,
No,
and business owners usually can't because there's a
no.
million things
I've
always.
tried so many times.
Yes. So playing, doing something like where you're stimulated, all your senses are stimulated, it helps
Yeah.
clear the mind in a more like fun and fulfilling way rather than just trying to like tap into mental discipline to stop on your own.
Yes, 100%. So I guess for you, like when you're telling people this, like what are your examples of play? Because for me, people are like, all right, like I don't really have a hobby anymore. Like I've had kids, I have my business. Like my business was the hobby that turned into a job now. So like I don't really have other things outside of it. What are in your mind are is really signaling play?
Yes. So play is defined officially as the state of mind that we experience when we're so immersed in an enjoyable and purposeless activity that we lose our sense of time and self-consciousness. So
Mm,
anything that gets you in that fully present, immersed in the moment state, technically is play. And there's a lot of physiological and psychological benefits that are reaped from that. But to get people's wheels turning and kind of opened up to what they can do to play, the first resource I usually offer is the 8 different play personality types by researcher Stuart Brown.
yeah.
So I'm gonna do my best to
Go
remember
all
them,
eight.
see
Yeah.
if I can make it through. Let's see. Okay. Number one, the Joker. So people who love comedy and practical jokes, just being silly. The kinesthete, which is our active people who really enjoy movement.
Yeah.
The artist or creator, any kind of creation falls in that bucket. The director, which is an interesting one because that's people who like to plan things and host things.
Hmm.
So people who like have a dinner party,
Yes.
like that totally counts. The collector. So anytime, whether it be random fun facts or items or something that you like geek out and want to show your friends,
Yeah.
that's a collector thing. Let's see, the storyteller, people who love movies, film, getting lost in a book,
Yeah.
and the explorer, which is people who really love novelty. So
Hmm.
these are oftentimes our travelers, which I have a feeling is me and you.
Yep. For sure.
And it's like you can bring that feeling that you get from exploring the world into your hometown or
Yeah.
city just by going and doing things you don't normally do and having a very exploratory approach to life.
Mm.
I think that was 8. I hope that was 8.
I think it was. Yes.
Okay, good. So that's so like for anybody listening, what stuck out to you? What do you resonate with? People usually have a top two,
Yeah.
and then just look for ways that you can implement that into your daily life, and that really will go a long way.
I- Excuse me. I like that because I think a lot of people in their mind when you hear play is it's like, all right, am I just supposed to like, grab a painting? And like for me, and it's something that I'm actually doing this summer is I'm trying to like rewire my brain of the things I don't like to do things I'm not good at. I've always been that way. And painting is not something that I've ever defined myself as a painter. And my fiance's family is like very artistic, and anytime I go to their house, they're like painting, and my painting is like the kindergartner of the group, and they're like beautiful paintings that you could sell. And so I always kind of like shy away from the things that I'm not good at. And so this summer I want to try to like expand into new areas of play because I've been so comfortable in my play for so long. So like I'm an active person. Like I don't remember the word you use, kinesthetic or something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm like I will hike, I will go do those things all day long, and give me a town to bop around and I will spend days. I love a bop. I will bop all around that town. Like give me it. I don't care if it's big, small, whatever it is. I will go sit in like the smallest diner and just like enjoy the heck out of it. Who cares? But I know that these other areas are things that like in my brain I have told myself I'm not good at, or I've told myself that I can't kind of move into those different areas as well. It's like even if you've been really comfortable in your play, I think it's fun to play into different areas of play as well.
Oh yeah. I love that. And that is where real growth happens. And
Yeah.
that's where you start to reap all those benefits that I mentioned earlier
Hmm.
and just expand. Like play really is a tool for growth. I mean, that's why children play. That's how they learn. And
Yes.
that doesn't, contrary to popular belief, that doesn't end when we reach adulthood
Yeah.
because we have neuroplasticity and our brains can continue changing and developing. And if we keep playing, we will keep getting smarter,
Yeah.
healthier, happier, and we'll just continue to grow as human beings in a way that feels really natural. So I absolutely love that. And I commend you for doing something that you're not good at because that is like, what a practice and journey that
Oh
is.
my
I
gosh, my
relate to
first couple have
that.
been bad, bad, bad. I was like, Liam, my fiance, I was like, look at this painting. He's like, so nice. What did you make? I'm like, it's a mountain with some trees, I promise. It's trying to be, it will be someday. I can make some flowers, like we'll call it good.
Yeah.
Um, Carrie, what does your schedule look like as somebody that does try to have this more balance-based approach? And I'm sure it changes kind of week by week, but what does your schedule look like as somebody that really practices this?
Yeah, that's a good question. And okay, so my routine is very unconventional.
Yeah.
I started at the beginning of 2024. So I've always imagined myself, I've always been a night owl, and I've
Hmm.
always like just honestly fantasized about like having those late nights with the lights on, with the like
Yeah.
flow just moving. And I finally just kind of had that moment where I was like, I've been working for myself for 8 years and I have yet to live that. Why?
Yeah.
Why am I doing that? Why am I like I'm not a morning person, and I was kind of shaming myself for years
Mm.
about that and telling myself subconsciously that if I don't wake up at a certain time, I'm lazy, irresponsible, not going to be successful, all the things. Finally gave that up, and it was a long time before I could really settle into the routine. But now my schedule looks like I kind of like the first half of my day starts at 9:30 p.m. and
Mhm.
goes till about 1, and that's like my deep flow focus time. And then I wake up around 10:30. I do not start anything productive until noon. I will have client sessions and do some networking between like noon and 5 or 6. I'll go to
Yeah.
the gym, take care of me, have an evening with my husband. And then on the weekends, it's free play. So I have a it's fun for me because ever since I started doing that, I am proactive
Yeah.
versus procrastinating.
Yeah.
And everything gets done and I get to sleep until 10 every single day, which is like my teenage dream come to life.
You're like, oh my gosh, how am I doing this? I love that. And I felt like I had to seen you say that before, that you like work in the evenings. And I've always said that like everybody's brain works so different. Like I know some people that their like deep work time is like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And like they just love, and maybe they have kids and like it's just the only time that's quiet in their house or something like that. Like couldn't be me. Like I love a slow morning.
I do wake up early, just naturally. I wake up at like 6, 7 o'clock, but I am also somebody that like I'm not going to rush into my workday. I also, my fiance goes to sleep like a little earlier than I do. And like I, a lot of times will like grab my laptop and just do like the putsy kind of work in the evenings. It's like I'm somebody that really does that. I feel very like creative in the evening. My mom used to always say this as a kid too, like when I was in high school, when I was in college, like I could crank out a whole project from like 8 p.m. to like midnight. I'm like, why am I so creative during this time? And so a lot of times, if my brain will go at that time, like, yes, I work a little bit more conventionally, especially when I'm taking calls, but a lot of times, like, you really have to play into when your brain is in that like creative flow, when you're looking into this, when you're looking into that. And I love just like, okay, let me analyze my numbers, let me do this. To work at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon to just like all of a sudden snap into like trying to analyze numbers or like make this massive creation if you're not doing is like hard to move your brain into those different buckets. And so you kind of have to use when your body feels different ways as a business owner.
Oh my gosh, I think that is a huge underrated hack
Yeah.
that that should be talked about much more than the 5 a.m. club
Yeah. Gosh.
because we're all so different. And if
Yeah.
you're kind of curious about how, like, what times of day you operate best, because I'm pretty sure it's divided into four sectors.
Yes.
There's this quiz called the chronotype quiz,
Hmm.
and it's like dolphin, bear, lion, and then another one, a wolf, I think. And you can take the quiz knowing that it changes and you can change like your preferences. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna take it, like look it up and take it, I would take it one with how you're operating right now, and then how you like really want to operate,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you get to adapt
Yeah.
in
I
whatever way
love
it
that.
feels good for you.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the hardest parts of being a business owner is creating a schedule that like works for you that you can stay consistent with. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, all of my like most listened to podcasts, everything, people are always like, just help me. Like, how do I make a schedule? How do I stay disciplined? How do I like actually stay consistent in my business? And it's because like once you have like everybody is busy, but like once you have your time and you're like, all right, we all get these hours, but like we all have different little things that have to fit in here. And like if I want to do this thing, like where is it going to fit in? How do I do it? How do I stay consistent with it? That it is a lot of discipline, but it also is learning how your brain works. Like if you're somebody that works really well on Saturday mornings when there's like no other noise because you worked a 9 to 5 all week, like not everybody is going to be able to wake up at 5 a.m., work a 9 to 5, come home, take care of their kids, and then work from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Your brain is toast. Like there's
Hmm.
no way that you'll be able to be your most productive self. So some people, your most productive self is going to be Saturday morning. Some people it's going to be, trying to find these different little pockets that just really work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to follow our rhythm and stop shoulding ourselves.
Yes.
Like, oh, I should be doing this. It doesn't matter when it gets done, and it
No.
doesn't matter how it gets done. Like, do what feels really good for you because
Yeah.
that's what's sustainable.
Yeah. And it's funny, the other day I was at a jewelry store and I was before I was giving my TED talk, and so I was like looking for jewelry and I asked the lady, like, I have an event, I'm doing this, and she was like, "Oh, what's your event?" I told her I was giving a TED talk. I was like, "Oh, I'm talking about balance and like I'm talking about this more freedom-based approach to business." And she said, "Oh, so you're talking about like slow growth business practices," which I thought was like such a funny response. And I actually was like, actually, no, like it's not about like slowing down your growth. It's about actually excelling your growth by like being able to fulfill yourself personally. And you could tell she kind of like stopped and was like, yeah, like like, she goes, yeah, those things don't really seem like that they're going to blend or something like that. Like it was like some sort of comment of just like this instilled message that we've all been taught that like you have to work 40 hour or like 70, 80 hours, like, and if you're not, it's going to be this like slow growth burn in your business. And I guess what's your perspective on that? It's like how and I understand this like desire to like, you got to hustle. Like in the beginning, it's fun and you're ambitious and you're like, let me get creative and let me do all these things and let me build. But like 6 months down the line, when that inspiration has dwindled a little bit, the growth is like steady, but now you're just in that consistency game of doing it forever. How do you recommend people kind of get into that rhythm?
Hmm. Well, as most things, it starts in the mind
Hmm.
and looking at what your default thoughts and beliefs are. And everything you just described, what I would define as part of hustle culture.
Yeah.
And hustle culture and the hustle mindset, I see it coming from two different things. One being cultural conditioning, which goes back way far. That's something that I dive into in the book so that we can really just like pull back the curtain on like, oh, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense because up until the past couple decades, all of our work was physical labor for the
Yeah.
most part. So there was this like necessary belief that we need to be able to tolerate suffering. And that has carried through when it's no longer necessary because tolerating the suffering isn't going to produce the best work, especially as a business owner who needs to be creative and innovative. Like nurturing your mind, your
Yeah.
cognitive function, your ability to think creatively is what's going to produce the best work. And
Yeah.
that doesn't include that suffering and that pain anymore. So understanding that and being open to letting that go. And then also the other thing that it comes from is we call it shame, we could call it self-worth, we could call it not enoughness, but this need to like prove that you are worthy of success. We oftentimes think that we have to have suffered and it has to be hard and painful in order for things to go really well.
Hmm.
And just being willing and open to let go of those two things and say, I'm going to just play with the possibility that this can be fun and I don't have to be doing backbreaking, painful work. And I don't like, I am worthy of radical success, even when I do all the work from a really happy place of overflow. And that in itself is such a mind twister because you want to, like, we're so quick to say, like, I earned it. Like, I worked so hard and I put in the painful work and now I'm here. And sometimes that's the case, but what if it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that hard?
Yeah. And I think I have a lot of clients that say that when I've like kind of helped them like put these systems in place, put these strategies in place, is like all of a sudden they're like, Maddie, I feel like I should be working more. Like it's working and like my business is growing. I'm seeing all of this growth, but like I almost feel guilty that like I'm working very few hours and like I'm making all of this money or like, my business just keeps growing and like I don't really feel like it's hard. Like that is the reality that you're looking for. Like the reality you're looking for is that business doesn't have to be hard. It is a level. I mean, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be ebbs and flows. There's always going to be fires that you have to put out. Like, oh my gosh, look at this year. Like there's been a lot of things in from like tariffs to like, all of these different things that we've been dealing with. There's always going to be things out of our control that we're trying to put up with and that we have to figure out. But like the actual growth of your business doesn't have to be this like painful suffer fest because it really is like certain things you got to check off the list. It's not like it's like, oh gosh, I need to like do all of this manual labor. It's like, no, no, no. Like you need to post the content, you need to get the visibility, you need to have a really great product, you need a website that really converts. And then we just need people to move through this system. And then it's really like that's all you need. And that's a great place to be. But I hear this a lot. And like I've said this about my business because I have built a business before that like it was a sufferfest for like weeks and like when I say sufferfest, I had some of the best times of my life at that job. Don't get me wrong, but it also was like I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, it was very toxic. And I can tell to this day things in my brain that like I cannot sleep without my phone next to me because I'm worried I'm gonna get a phone call that like I am absolutely needed in the middle of the night. And that was because of that other job. And so there's things that we get rewired into that I just feel like we are telling ourselves that this has to be the case. And I hear this a lot too of people saying like, okay, like Maddie, I'm like trying to take the weekends off, but all weekend I'm just thinking about all the things that I could be doing when I'm like, and they just feel this like round of guilt where all of those things really all start in the brain. It really is the rewiring and the perspective of everything.
Yes, it is. And like we keep talking about, it's a practice.
Hmm.
It's not something that you just shift one time and then it's easy. It's that choice, that mindset shift that you make when you're feeling that way. And then then there's an opportunity to, how I say, like pull a fun lever, which
Yeah.
is take something, like take an actionable step. And in my book, there's 10 fun levers that you can pull to get yourself out of that place. Because when you are in that place and you're kind of like spiraling into that hustle mindset,
Yeah.
you have that urgency, that worry, that overwhelm, that like that, how that list just runs through your head. You
Yes.
just
Oh
keep going
gosh.
through that list. Yes, in order to shut that off, sometimes we have to take physical action. We have to break the cycle physically. And this is where connection, play, and creativity comes in
Yeah.
clutch.
I love that. I think it's so important. It's just, I totally know. And all of a sudden you're like, shoot, I have to do this. Shoot, I have to do that. Shoot, I have to do all of these other things. And your brain just goes and goes and goes that, yeah, the fun lever is big. All right, let me go do something else and actually come back. And like, you'll do it twice as fast after you actually just like went and took a break. You're like, oh, this would have taken me 4 hours to do if I was burnt out trying to do it.
Exactly.
You keep bringing up your book, which I'm so excited about. As this is going out, it came out a couple of days ago. Tell us a little bit about your book. Like, what made you want to go the book route? Like, what is your book all about? What is it called? All of the details on it.
Yes, yes, and it's so hard not to bring up in conversation because it's
You're
just
like,
like
everything's
everything we're
talked about
talking
it there.
about
Yeah.
is full of it. It's
Yeah.
literally all about everything that we're talking about. It's called Fun Because How to Succeed Without the Hustle. And I wanted to write a book because one, I'm a writer. I've been a writer since I was 5. That
Yeah.
is like my greatest passion and creative expression
Mhm.
in life. And there's so much to the idea of using fun as a tool for success and growth
Yeah.
that it needed that type of long form content to unpack because it's philosophical, but it's also very research backed in the physiological and psychological benefits
Yes.
of the 3 elements of fun: connection, play, and creativity. And like, there's so many case studies, there's so many really fun facts, there's so many different ways that you can spin it and apply it to your life that it just needed, 150 pages to unpack. So that's what we did.
Yes, I love it. I'm so excited to read it. I can't wait. When you are thinking about fun, like what is your like okay, I think a lot of people, because I've talked to so many about a similar topic, are get to this point where they're like, "All right, this is great. Like I love this concept. It's a practice. I'm working on it." What do you feel like their first kind of like 3 steps are to really make that change? Maybe they're burnt out. Like maybe they're like, "Maddie, I built a totally different life. I'm based in this hustle. I'm based in this grind. I really want to flip how my business is run." What do you think those first few steps really look like?
So it's structured to kind of walk you through that because
Yeah.
it's good to lean into just human psychology here because
Hmm.
again, it starts in the mind. So I would say dismantling your own hustle conditioning and figuring out where and how that was born
Yeah.
because we all have it, especially in America, like we have a lot of common threads in what has been ingrained in us. But then in our own family dynamics and what we've absorbed from the older generations, because
Yeah.
obviously they grew up in a totally different time period where things were
Yeah.
different, just kind of unpacking what your beliefs are so that you understand what you are shifting. And then, so that's like the first part. And then the second part is bringing in the new ideas and beliefs and looking at people and companies who are doing this and they're
Yeah.
doing it loudly. Like Google is, we know that they are like the empire of creativity and innovation and
Yes.
playfulness. And that is born through connection, play, and creativity.
Hmm.
And that's very well known, but people aren't really bringing that into their own lives as an individual just because no one's giving that guidance.
Yeah.
So just kind of learning from people who are already doing it, reframing that in your mind, bringing in that hard evidence so that your brain can really wrap around it and take it on as truth.
Yeah.
And then going into like implementing more fun, which again, 3 elements: connection, play, and creativity. And I recommend starting with connection because the that is the most like it falls under the basic human need category.
Yes.
We're wired, we need connection. We cannot operate optimally without community, love, connection in our life.
Yeah.
And so starting there with a couple different forms of connection is really, really powerful as a
Yeah.
foundation.
Okay. I love that. I think those are some really good tangible tips. And it really is like, and I say that too. I'm like, start with the things that you like always wanted to do, but you never make the time for it. And whether that be like playing board games with your family in the evening, or like you really miss going out to lunches with your like girlfriends on Wednesdays because you just like grind through it, even though they're co-working, or like, what are those areas? And I like that you say start with connection, because connection is something that when you pour into it, you like feel this more direct result back, as opposed to play. It's more of that practice. Like if I'm sitting there at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday trying to like paint a picture, I'm gonna be like, Maddie, this feels like, your brain can kind of start going. You can start getting those shame and those guilt cycles. Whereas when you're having fun with your friends, you're having fun with your family or your partner, or whatever it is, you're able to be like, you can kind of turn that off and be like, all right, this is so great. I think that is so
Yeah.
wonderful. Kari, where can people find you? Where can they find your book? Re-say the name of it just so everybody can find it. I will put it in the show notes as well, but just kind of give everybody the little 411 of where you're at.
Yes. So the book is called Fun Because. It's
Yay.
available on Amazon right now as Kindle ebook and of course paperback. And
Mhm.
then hopefully we'll have an audiobook coming soon.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Gonna
I'm
record
excited
it.
about
Can
that.
you record it?
Oh yeah,
That'll be so fun.
I know, right? What a fun project. And then you can find me basically on all platforms at Carrie the Fun Coach and carrythefuncoach.com. And then my podcast is The Fun Side.
Love it. Awesome. I will link it all below. Kari, this has been so wonderful. We have such similar mindsets on things, and I love to see kind of how our different methods kind of came together to be super similar.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for having me on, Maddie.
You're so welcome.
How incredibly wonderful was that? Click the link in the show notes. I will have a link to Kari's new book, Fun Because, down there. I cannot wait to read it, and I cannot wait to share it with you as well. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, and get out there and try to have some fun in these next couple of days, realizing that when you take that step back from your business, you will just be able to be better professionally as well. I hope you have a wonderful day. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode.